Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. This time I'm going to go over one of my new set 7 brews. You guys might have seen me work on this on the set 7 stream I did last week. It's the Raditz time regulator deck. So this is an approach I took with Raditz for a few reasons I'm going to explain once you get into the deck profile. But before we do, guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, make sure you leave a thumbs up. If you guys are looking for a Dragon Ball Super community, check out the Discord in the description below. Amazing group of people, really helpful people. Finally, guys, if you're longtime fans of the channel, consider checking out the Patreon. Really helps a lot in terms of growing and building the channel, and you get a lot of competitive content for just $1 a month. You get tons and tons of competitive articles if you guys are going to regionals, want to get better at locals, whatever the case may be. It's all really good stuff. All right, with that being said, we're getting into this Raditz deck profile. So Raditz leader, we've been asking for it forever, and we are finally getting it in set 7. So this is the way I'm approaching Raditz with the Vegeta time regulator engine. This might be a pretty different build than anything you guys might have seen so far. Now obviously there's the way to build Raditz kind of straight out of set 7, where you have the Vegeta energy manipulation package, where you go Vegeta into Powerball into the Ape, and then on the following turn you play Yajirobe, and then you're able to pop the Vegeta and go into the dual color 6-drop that starts ripping the opponent's hand. But in my opinion, guys, that engine is just not going to be the best way to play Raditz, because Raditz will warp one from your opponent's hand basically every turn, but you're not going to be doing any additional hand ripping, at least with your boss monster, until turn 4. And in my opinion, there is a faster way to play Raditz and a stronger way to play Raditz. It does kind of suck that Vegeta time regulator is a pretty expensive card, but on the plus side, it is a champion pack card, and if we know anything about last year's champion packs, these cards are going to go down as more and more tournaments happen, as more and more Vegeta time regulators get released. So that is something to look forward to. And if you have the Vegeta time regulator sitting around from your Toa deck, or if you want to play this deck online and see if it's worth investing in the Vegetas, I would definitely recommend it, because the deck is super cool, super fun, and I think it's the best way to play Raditz. So real quick, we're going to go over what the leader does, because what the leader does has a lot to do with why this deck is built the way it is. So when this card attacks leader card on the unawakened side, your opponent chooses one card from their hand and sends it to their warp. So you have that basically that hand destruction, but it gets around Mutaito, which is pretty solid. Activate main once per turn. Look up to 5 cards from the top of your deck. Choose one red or green Raditz, Vegeta, or Nappa among them. Add it to your hand. Shuffle your deck, and if you added a card to your hand, choose one card from your hand and place it in the drop area. So note right off the bat, this is not search Vegeta time regulator, because he's a Vegeta Xeno, but I counted it up right before this video. So we have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 23 targets for Nappa to look at the top 5. That's a pretty good rate of hitting, looking 5 deep. So you should realistically see one every single turn, but you don't get a hard plus off of that. Notice how it only adds a card to your hand and then you discard a card. So I figured that was going to be a really good way to fuel Overwhelm, which is where I got the Vegeta time regulator engine from. This basically gives you a draw engine because you don't have one inherently with the leader. So you're fueling Overwhelm by discarding cards for the activate main, so Vegeta time regulator can act as your draw engine basically. So Awaken, when you release a 4 or less, you may choose one energy and switch to active mode. So not even on the Awakened do you get any advantage. And same thing on the unawakened side, when he attacks a leader, they warp a card, and then you can choose one red or green stand in your battle area, and it gets plus 5,000 power for the duration of the turn. So pretty interesting leader, how it doesn't plus obviously. I kind of wish on the backside you could attack battle cards and still warp cards, but I guess they felt like they needed to do this to Raditz to make it balanced. So Vegeta time regulator, that's the engine we're playing in this deck. We have 4 Vegeta time regulators, 3 Trunks time regulator. He is basically a watered down version of Bardock Awakened Instincts. So what he does is he's an Overwhelm 3, and when you play this card using Overwhelm, you draw 2 and discard 1. So that discard 1 right off the bat is getting you fueled for your next Overwhelm, which you want to be overwhelming almost every single turn. Like past turns 2 and 3, you want to be overwhelming almost every turn. The draw 2 helps you dig deep, because you're not able to really draw with the leader obviously, and then you're going to draw an additional card off of Vegeta time regulator. So that's pretty good in my opinion. And obviously on your leader's unawakened side, you can discard black cards so that Vegeta time regulator is live. Dark Temptation Toa, we're a green leader and we're playing a hand control deck. We want to be playing the Overwhelm that starts ripping cards from our opponent's hand as well. This does play into Mercenary Tau, unfortunately, but it's really only one card in the deck that does it, and you can obviously side deck the Krillin that pops Tau to deal with that. Scientist Fu, one of our game menders. We're going to be playing basically a resource deck, and what I mean by that is your goal is to out advantage your opponent. Your goal is to run them low on cards, drop a Scientist Fu in the late game, draw 3 cards thanks to Vegeta time regulator, and then go for game that way. So that's one of your wing conditions in the deck after out advantaging your opponent. Talking Death Ball, green, Spark and Negate, don't need to say much. Raditz, Sand and Arms. So this card I originally thought was really bad because I kind of misread it, but we're going to give it a quick read. So when you play this card, draw 1, so a little bit of draw power, basically a cantrip. Activate main, pay a red, pay a green, place this card in the owner's drop area, so again, you're fueling Overwhelm. If your leader card is a green sand, check. Choose up to 1 Vegeta and 1 Nappa with energy cost 2 or less and 10,000 power from your deck, send them to your warp, shuffle your deck. At the start of your next main phase, play all the cards sent to the warp of this card's skill in your battle area. So originally I thought this said add them to your hand, which I thought was really bad, but the fact that it plays 2 bodies on turn 3, that's pretty solid. And since you don't have a ton of draw power early in the deck, we have a few different turn 2 plays, one of which being Vegeta Time Regulator, one of which being using Raditz, Sand and Arms to get Vegeta and Nappa on the board. But going into turn 3 with 2 bodies on the board, especially one being a Vegeta that could potentially crit the opponent, help yourself awaken. Nappa searches a bunch of cards, which we'll talk about in just a bit. So it is a pretty solid turn 2 play. I do give it a lot more credit than I once did. Defending Father Paragus, best super combo for green, obvious. And then we have Vegeta Royal Prince. So I believe this is going to be a starter deck card coming out of the King Vegeta starter deck. So it's a 2-drop green 10k Vegeta, so it's a playable target off of Sand and Arms. Activate main, choose 1 card in your life, add it to your hand. This card becomes a 15k crit. So that same theme of trying to out-resource the opponent, you're swinging at them, you're not giving them cards off of their life. Vegeta the Cruel, one of the new counterplay cards coming out of set 7. So play this card. If a multicolor card is in your energy, reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 1. So charging a multicolor in this deck is pretty awkward because turn 1 we really want to get Raditz down. Turn 2 we really want to either activate Raditz's effect or use Vegeta Time Regulator. So it does get pretty weird. In the right matchups, you can charge a Nappa turn 1, and then you have that ability for Vegeta the Cruel. Or even going into like a turn 3, you can charge a dual color in rest mode. You'll have 2 energy up for Vegeta the Cruel. So there's a lot of weird situations it gets into. But honestly, this card's a pretty big tempo swing, especially when your opponent's already low on resources. So paying 3 for this isn't even the worst thing. So with that being said, when you play this card during your opponent's turn, choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost 4 or less, KO it. Then your opponent chooses 1 card in their hand and sends it to their warp. So if you're playing this guy down on 3, if you're leaving 3 energy open to counterplay this, or potentially doing it with 2 energy, your next play is Dauntless Spirit Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. So it's another search target off of Raditz, which is kind of funny because it's not like a Saiyan Saga Vegeta, but he has EX Evolve for 1 green energy. Discard 1 card. You can EX Evolve him over a green Vegeta with an energy cost of 3 or more. So we have Vegeta the Cruel right here. That's our main target. You can also do this on like your awakening turn by hard casting Vegeta and then like awakening, but Vegeta the Cruel is much better as a counterplay, just right off the rip. So EX Evolve on top. When this card deals damage, so this is like after combos and after everything's said and done, you may place 1 card from your hand in the drop area, again fueling Overwhelm. If you do, this card gains critical for duration of the turn. So think of it this way: when your opponent's already limited on resources, you're going to swing with Dauntless Spirit Vegeta. The damage is going to go through because it's 20k, kind of big, and then you're going to go for a double strike crit. And it's nice that you don't have to commit that discard until after you know the damage is going through. So it's really good. Again, another searchable target off of Raditz. I like this card a lot. Surprise Attack Frieza. We are playing more of a control-oriented deck, so a lot of times you are going to be swinging at battle cards. Like, for example, if you have Vegeta the Cruel, doesn't have critical. If you have Time Regulator, doesn't have critical. Any of your Overwhelms, you want to be swinging at battle cards to keep your opponent's board under control. And then you could drop Frieza, Surprise Attack Frieza on the board next to the rest of your board and swing for crit at the leader. I like it a lot. Then we have Raditz the Oppressor, another search target. It's a little bit of our red energy we want to be using, and it's a draw 1. It's a Borgos, so again a little bit more draw power, and the Borgos effect is not too shabby either. Intensifying Power Trunks, a more crit pressure, a little bit of draw because you got some self awaken going, pretty good. Further Instruction Champa, again, another way to end the game. You could kind of go back and forth on this. It could be 2 Champa, no Fu. You could maybe find another spot for another Champa. Because going in on the leader swing, your opponent warping a card and then going all in on that, depending what you have, all the Paraguses and all your draw power you've hopefully accumulated from Vegeta, that's going to be the way you want to go for game. Because again, we are playing a resource-starving deck towards the opponent. Nappa, Vegeta's Underling. I believe this is going to be a tournament pack card in set 7. So Energy Exhaust, again, like I said, charging a dual color in this deck is pretty awkward. This card cannot be KO'd by the opponent's skills. And when you play this card, you may choose 1 card in your hand, place in the drop area. Again, fueling Overwhelm, very common theme. If you do, look it up 10 cards, top of your deck. Choose 2 red or green Raditz or Vegeta cards with energy cost 3 or less. add them to your hand, shuffle your deck. So coming off of a turn 2 Raditz Sand and Arms, you're going to bring out this Vegeta, you're going to bring out this Nappa. Nappa is going to search top 10 for another 2 cards, so that is pretty plus right there, all the while searching Overwhelm. So the way I like to, Fueling Overwhelm rather. So the way I like to curve out this deck is turn 1 Raditz Sand and Arms, ideally. Turn 2, activate Raditz's effect to get the Nappa and the Vegeta. So you're going into turn 3 with 2 beaters. You have 3 energy open, and you can play Vegeta Time Regulator, because at this point in the game, you should have at least 3 or 4 cards in your drop area from your Raditz searching effect, from other things like that, Raditz Sand and Arms being in drop area, and then you can start using Trunks Time Regulator and Dark Temptation Toa to trigger Vegeta Time Regulator. So that's a pretty powerful turn 3, and by that point, going second, you rip 3 cards out of your opponent's hand with the Raditz leader. Going first is 2 cards, but you got the first advantage of charging energy. So the deck curves out really well. I like it a lot. Consider testing it in your set 7 gauntlet. Let me know what you guys think about the deck in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Joey. This is Crossroad TCG, and I'll see you guys in the next video.